I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
You know, I once spoke to someone that was on their deathbed, and they said that when they were thinking they were about to pass away and die, that they said they would trade anything in the world for only one more day. This person said that they took life for granted, and in their eyes, everything else was more important. But leaving this earth put things in perspective, and now they're more grateful and appreciative of everything in life. Everybody I'm looking at is very ungrateful about this ceasefire taking place in the Gaza Strip. Trump magically was able to broker a ceasefire, and luckily today Hamas relieved the last remaining living Israeli hostages. But yet I'm looking in American media, and instead of everybody on the left and the right and all the Free Palestine protesters screaming, "Thank you, Donald Trump," I'm seeing criticism leveraged against him yet and still. A friend of mine that's Palestinian, we spoke yesterday, and he was like, well, is Palestine free? And I'm looking at him like, do you understand that Donald Trump is not the president of Palestine? He doesn't owe those people anything. He doesn't owe you anything. You're actually Palestinian, but you live in the United States. You owe your people everything. Why didn't you go over there and try to broker a peace deal your damn self? Again, everybody is so ungrateful. But guess what? The people in Gaza, if this ceasefire only lasts for another 10 days, for a lot of people that are going to die, that's 10 more days than they had in the first place. Do not be ungrateful. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So anyway, this is we're going to play some of the footage from Benjamin Netanyahu. The other part of this video is we're going to discuss why Netanyahu is also not happy. I'm not sure how Trump got him to agree to this, but this is a step. This ceasefire is a step towards him going into prison. Now, the country of Israel is famously known for putting away its politicians for corruption, all different types of crimes. Netanyahu was actually on trial, and that's when this war conveniently started. And I believe it's something in their charter where during wartime, they can't prosecute a sitting president. So Netanyahu is not happy about this ceasefire. To be honest, the only reason why he's not in prison today is because of this war. Now, Israel is famous for breaking their ceasefires. Actually, they have a ceasefire right now with Lebanon, and they've already broken it. They have a ceasefire with Syria. They've already broken it. So I'm not sure how this one in Gaza is going to last. However, it's a double-edged sword, because even though there is a ceasefire, to maintain it, we will have to send American troops into Gaza to prevent Israeli strikes. Because if they accidentally harm an American with their strikes, well, then it'll be hell to pay. Israel is losing the war over the American public every day. And the World Economic Forum is looking to upseat them and replace them. I'm not necessarily sure which one is going to be the lesser of the two evils, but both are evil. I just wish that America could just stay in the hands of patriots and nationalists. But unfortunately, the globalist Zionists or the globalist World Economic Forum have way too much influence, and they are coming for our country. So this is some of the live video from Trump, who just arrived in Tel Aviv today.
היו רגעים שחשבתי, כך אומר ויטקוף, שעליכם להתגמש יותר, אבל האמת היא שכעת, במבט לאחור, אני חושב שלא היינו מגיעים לנקודה הזו, אם ראש הממשלה נתניהו that would have been lost without your leadership. And as our sages teach, whoever saves one life, it is as though he has saved an entire world. You have proven that true peace is achieved through strength, and that only those who are prepared to use force in the present can prevent the need to use it in the future.
Why can't Trump get this type of treatment from Americans on the left in America? You have the gay community and you have the black community consistently hate any of his efforts and any of his successful peace negotiations. When he brings peace to American cities and he brings peace to black neighborhoods, they're mad because they want the death. They want the violence. I don't know why people here cannot be as appreciative as these people over there in Israel or in Gaza. Yeah, the people over here, they want something to be mad about. I don't think they ever wanted Palestine free. This was a grift for them. So now, how are they going to make money being paid to go out and do these pointless protests? That's going to be a hustle that dried up right there. So a lot of people are mad that the gravy train is stopping. That's why they're not as excited or as grateful that they didn't want this to end. They're basically like doctors. There's no money in the cure. The money's in the medicine keeping you hooked long term. They need the conflict so they can continue to ask for funding and be paid to go out and protest. They're activists. They go to school to learn to be activists. They're no longer taking classes so they can learn a profession. All they can learn how to do now is protest. So I just wish that Trump was appreciated more here for his efforts. We really should be more patriotic and more appreciative of what this man has been doing around the world. And to snub him for a Nobel Peace Prize when he's literally the person who brought peace is ridiculous.
Mr. President, you, more than any other individual, are deserving of the highest recognition for your efforts in promoting peace. Therefore, I hereby announce that together with our good friend, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, we will rally speakers and presidents of parliaments from around the world to submit your candidacy for the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize next year. There is no one more deserving than you, President Trump. No one. אדוני הנשיא, אנחנו ניצבים בפני ההיסטוריה ברגע נשגב שיחקק לדורות. זה יום מאוד מרגש לאזרחי ישראל, יום שכולנו ייחלנו לו. בספר ירמיהו משיב השם לרחל המבכה את בניה.
מכובדי הנשיא,
Netanyahu does not seem very thrilled to be here. I'm sure he's going to find a way to sabotage this peace deal to keep himself out of prison. However, there's so many different forces, including the World Economic Forum, that are pushing for this ceasefire because they know this is going to be the only way to remove and replace Benjamin Netanyahu Bibi once and for all.
הרצוג ורעייתו מיכל, מכובדיי הרבים, ובראשם, recognize Jerusalem as our capital and move the embassy here. Thank you, President Trump, for that. There are many other reasons to thank you since your last visit here. Thank you for recognizing Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights.
that's also a problem because the United States, along with the UK, Canada, and the other Western G7 countries, will also be now recognizing a separate Palestinian state. So, yeah, you got the Golan Heights, but with the Palestinians having statehood, you will have to abide by international laws when it comes to them, and then they can actually bring defense in from the UN to help defend them. They will be recognized as a state. So there's give and take here. I don't know if Netanyahu's going to bring that up, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you for standing up to the lies against Israel in the United Nations.
No one's lying on you, Zionists.
Thank you for recognizing in your 2020 peace plan our rights in Judea and Samaria, the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. Thank you for brokering the historic Abraham Accords. Abraham, Esquemei Abraham. Thank you for withdrawing from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. Thank you for supporting Operation Rising Lion and for your bold decision to launch Operation Midnight Hammer. Boy, is that, you got to hear this. This is the most fitting name ever named for a military operation because a little after midnight, you really hammered them.
Oh, yeah.
My friends, this is only a partial list, but it's enough to affirm what I've said time and again. Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
Not even Trump believes that. This is lip service, and Trump doesn't trust Netanyahu. Trump knows Netanyahu's a snake. And they say this about all the presidents. They say this about everybody. They're professional scammers.
No American president has ever done more for Israel. And as I said in Washington, it ain't even close. It's really not a match. Mr. President, today we welcome you here to thank you for your pivotal leadership in putting forward a proposal that got the backing of almost the entire world. A proposal that brings all our hostages home. A proposal that ends the war by achieving all our objectives. A proposal that opens the door to an historic expansion of peace in our region and beyond our region. Mr. President, you are committed to this peace. I am committed to this peace. And together, Mr. President, we will achieve this peace. We've done it before. We've done it before in the Abraham Accords, and we'll do it again. Mr. President, today the Jewish calendar marks the end of 2 years of war. That war began on October 7th on the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah. You always tell me, and you tell the world, remember October 7th. Mr. President, we remember.
Trump knows the truth. That's why he's looking at Netanyahu like that. He can't, Trump wears his emotions on his sleeves. He doesn't really have a poker face. He can't stand this guy. Nobody can. And he will also be happy once this man is behind bars.
Remember the thousands of Hamas terrorists who stormed into our towns and kibbutzim. We remember the 1,200 people Hamas savagely slaughtered in cold blood.
You let them in. You had a stand down order for your military. You wanted that to happen. He's extremely corrupt. Matter of fact, let's just see how corrupt he is. Let's check out this.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. And it all came about because of a garbled, barely audible voice recording taken from inside someone's pocket.
Should have thought about that.
No, that's not
They had
true.
done a switch.
Yeah.
The police came across it almost by accident when they were investigating something else entirely. The sound quality is terrible, but you can make out the voices of Netanyahu and Arnon Mozes, the publisher of one of the country's most popular newspapers. They're sitting on the outdoor patio of the Prime Minister's residence. It starts out innocently enough. They have a little chat about cigars. Netanyahu loves them. Moses has never smoked one in his life. Neither of them drink. But pretty rapidly they get down to business. Netanyahu doesn't like the way that Moses' newspaper, Yediot Haranot, is covering his government. So Moses makes Netanyahu an offer. He says, I'm looking you in the eyes and telling you if we can come to an agreement on this law, I will do all I can to make sure you stay here as long as you want. Stay here, meaning stay as Prime Minister. Moses offered favourable news coverage in exchange for Netanyahu's support on a legislative change that would help his media empire. A quid pro quo.
Oh, wow. I didn't know this. A quid pro quo. This sounds like what Biden did in the Ukraine that he admitted to on video that magically everyone pretended they had no idea. There's literally a video of him saying, I told the Ukrainians, unless they fire the prosecutor that's investigating my son and our business dealings, that they're not going to get the billions of dollars in funding. And they were like, well, you can't do that. You don't have the power. And he said, call the president. I bet you don't get the money. And he says, son of a bitch, in the next few hours, the prosecutor was fired off the case. Quid pro quo. Pay for play. Political payola. So that's the bribery scandal. He basically was bribed by the publisher of a really popular periodical in Israel. And in exchange for the paper giving him favorable reporting, he was to, I guess he's paying them. So he's bribing them for coverage. And I mean, I wonder how much of this happens in the US every single day, but wow, he got caught. And this is what he's going to prison for.
This recording is now a key piece of evidence in a criminal trial of Benjamin Netanyahu, the man who is leading Israel's military campaign in Gaza and the Middle East.
He's currently on trial for alleged bribery, fraud and breach of trust, charges he denies.
Netanyahu is doing everything he can to stay in office, because if he stays in office, he can't be thrown in jail. But unlike Donald Trump's vaguely similar situation,
That's what it is. If he stays in office, he cannot go to jail. And that's why he wants to keep the war going so he can stay in office. Let's see if he explains that.
in the US, this one has an old school flavour.
We'll be back soon.
A fierce battle between media tycoons, reminiscent of the battles between Rupert Murdoch and Kerry Packer in the heyday of newspapers. This story even involves Kerry Packer's son.
Caught right in the middle of it is Australian billionaire James Packer.
It is a rollicking tale. But Netanyahu's tangle with the law could change the fate of the war in the Middle East. I'm Matt Bennett, and this is If You're Listening.
So this is why Netanyahu is not necessarily too happy about this peace agreement. It puts him one step closer to a prison cell. This is what Ian Carroll said today on the Jimmy Dore show, and he also had on Judge Napolitano and our good friend, the General, and he's going to, what's his name? Scott. He used to be a weapons inspector in the military, Scott. And let's see what they got to say.
Point in time, I would whisper in his ear, Hamas won. Hamas won. They got everything they wanted. Thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of Hamas.
We have special guests with us, ladies and gentlemen. Ian Carroll, citizen journalist, online educator, whose motto is follow the money, seek the truth, do your own research. That sounds very right-wing. He also hosts the online show Cancel This, and his TikTok currently boasts more than 1.8 million followers. Boy, I wonder what he's not posting over there. Please welcome back to the show, Ian Carroll. Hey, Ian, how are you?
Good to see you again, Jimmy.
So
I'm basically not posting anything on TikTok anymore.
Did they go back and take down some of your stuff?
Yeah, it was right after the deal started to go through. My most recent one got taken down. I haven't posted since.
I just got another strike for a Candace Owens post. So, yep, the deal went through. Basically, the Zionists now own TikTok.
Surprised. We've seen it before. Yeah, TikTok's a can of worms. Not a fan.
Are you looking to establish your business using an address other than your home? Wish you had a professional.
So I wanted to talk to you quick. There's a peace deal. Well, there's a ceasefire deal. And here's a very quick summary. Multi-phase framework focused primarily on ending the 2-year Gaza war rather than resolving the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The first phase, which is Israel approved on October 9th, includes an immediate ceasefire, release of all remaining Israeli hostages, which there are about 48, and within 72 hours. And then Israel's going to release approximately 2,000 Palestinian. Wow, that doesn't seem equal, does it? 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including 250 serving life sentences, and 1,700 detained since October 7th, 2023. Partial withdrawal from Gaza, with forces remaining along the Philadelphia corridor. That's the Gaza-Egypt border for security. So I guess they occupy about 70% of Gaza right now, and they're supposed to pull back to 50%. That's what I've heard. And they're going to open the Rafah crossing for humanitarian aid under international oversight. Subsequent phases, negotiations to begin post-hostage release, outline Gaza's demilitarization, transitional governance by Palestinian technocrats under the International Board of Peace, which is going to be chaired by Trump, and large-scale reconstruction funded by Gulf states and international donors. And what I just want to, this is what Scott Ritter has to say about it.
Because Hamas wants a Palestinian state. I mean, that's what this was all about. This was about creating the conditions for a Palestinian state. And now Hamas actually has a deal. Again, people need to put this in perspective. Go back to the days and weeks after October 7th, 2023, when the initial discussions were being had about a ceasefire and what Hamas's demands are. Every single demand of Hamas has been met. I mean, this is a Hamas peace treaty. Trump has packaged it up and has sold it to the Israelis, but Hamas is getting everything they asked for. So, why would Hamas do this? Because this is what they've wanted all along. The idea that they're a terrorist organization that exists just to run around and blow things up and commit violence and kill Israel and all is absurd in the extreme. Hamas has been fighting for a Palestinian state, for a Palestinian homeland, and this agreement creates the opportunity for that. So that's exactly why Hamas would be willing to do all this. But at some
what people don't understand about the Palestinians is that they are in a open air prison. They cannot leave. No one can go there. Their food is rationed, and actually, Israel uses a program, and basically they can tell you what's the amount of calories per day you must need as a human to stay alive, and that's the amount of calories you are given. So it's a camp. Don't know how much concentrating is going on in there, but it is a camp. It's an open air prison. They wanted their own state. I wouldn't go as far as to say Hamas won. I'm going to say the World Economic Forum won. It was the World Economic Forum pressures that are pressing on Israel to accept this deal, even though it's not in the best interest of Benjamin Netanyahu. Again, if Israel loses, then the World Economic Forum wins control over the American political system. The same control Israel has, it's going to be replaced with the control from the World Economic Forum, and that does not look any better. That looks way worse. A technocratic, communist, medical, it's just like this whole takeover that they're doing. All the stuff you saw during lockdowns and COVID times 20. It's medical surveillance state, and it's basically just it's techno-communism. So I'm not gonna say that, everyone says that Israel's evil. They definitely did a genocide, but the World Economic Forum is evil. But one thing the World Economic Forum and Israel could agree on is the mass injection of certain populations around the world. So it's like they both came together to do that, and now they're fighting over, well, who's going to be number one when the smoke clears? And the United States is the prize, and we're in the middle. I just hope one of these people, I hope neither one of those groups are going to say, well, if I can't have America, no one can. And then they do something drastic. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
Point in time, I would whisper in his ear, Hamas won. Hamas won. They got everything they wanted. Thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of Hamas.
Bro, you're done already?
Yeah, bro.
How?
I hired Motion to hire AI employees.
AI.
So that's Scott Ritter saying Hamas actually won this war. They got everything they wanted. I think that remains to be seen. But go ahead, unpack this. We'll take it where you want, Ian.
Yeah, obviously it's very fresh, and there's a lot more that we don't know than that we do know. One thing we do know is that we've seen Israel violate countless ceasefires in the past, but I'm optimistic about this one, and I'm trying to stay that way. Because Scott's right that Hamas and the Palestinians in general are getting a lot of what they want. But unfortunately, it's at an extremely high toll of loss of life. You made a funny comment about the unequal number of prisoners being exchanged. And it's, when you know about how many Palestinians have been rotting away in Israeli prisons with no due process for years in some cases, it's not surprising that the deal includes the release of a whole bunch more Palestinians than Israelis. But I'm glad about hostages being exchanged in all regards and people being hopefully set free peacefully. And I noticed that the plan, they mentioned that Israel wanted there to be no big media circus around the hostage release, which makes sense because the media did not go so well for Israel the last time that we had a bunch of hostages being released.
Let me say this. That seems kind of brilliant in Hamas's case, because most of those Palestinian prisoners that Israel is holding would have probably been executed by now had those hostages not been taken 2 years ago. So because Israel wanted to have more bargaining chips, they kept them alive. But if it wasn't for those hostages taken on October 7th, a lot of these Palestinians probably would have been executed immediately. So well played on that part.
Memes still circulate to this day of like Israeli prisoners saying things to Hamas terrorists or whatever.
Saying nice things and thanking them
right?
for
saying bye, shukran.
and giving a warm goodbye to their hostage keepers, and so they don't want people to see that. They don't want to see that Hamas actually took good care of the hostages, unlike when a Palestinian's inside of an
Exactly.
Israeli jail. The
Or
exact
at least as good a care as they can while they're under siege,
Right,
right? And
correct.
starving and all these things.
Yeah.
Hopefully this ends the famine. But there's all these complex layers wrapped up in this, and I think the best place for people to start to access this and look into it and research it and gain a more complex understanding of what I think is going on here is the word technocrats, because in the reporting, in almost all of the reporting, you can see that they say.
I was just talking about a technocratic, communistic world. And now they're talking about the Gaza strips are now going to be ran by technocrats. The whole technocrat industry is rooted in, it's a creation of the World Economic Forum. So basically the World Economic Forum is going to be coming into Gaza. I'm telling you, there is a war between the World Economic Forum and the Zionists. And the Zionists are panicking. That's why what happened to Charlie Kirk happened. That's why you see so many other things going on. They are panicking. That means they're threatened. When people start doing, erratic things and drastic, moves, that means that they're nervous. The World Economic Forum is getting closer.
That the leadership of Gaza will be handed over to an interim government of technocrats. And there's a couple of, it's not entirely clear what they mean on face value, but one thing is that they're apparently like non-political. They're not partisan. They're not, they're mostly businessmen, educated people. And they're people that have interests aligned with the global banking cartel.
Oh, really?
Because if you look into what has been happening in the West Bank as of last year, their new government as of last March-ish is also led by technocrats. And a lot of the leadership in the West Bank right now, the word technocrats means previously worked for the World Bank, previously worked with these globalist financial.
They previously worked with the globalist financial cabals. It's the World Economic Forum, the Davos Group, World Health Organization. They're making their move and they're getting closer to taking out the Zionists. And we're watching it all happen in slow motion. Everything you've seen interim has been a proxy war. I think we're going to start seeing direct attacks between the two groups coming soon.
Power centers. And so that starts to, it starts to explain why a deal might be being made, because the deal is logically going to benefit the banking cartel if the banking cartel is being put in power in these places. But also it starts to explain how we might be watching maximum profit being extracted from every part of this plan, because the war was extremely profitable for bankers and war profiteers the world over. And now I would expect that the reconstruction process will be milked for all that it's worth too. But that doesn't necessarily make it bad as far as I'm concerned. The stopping of the killing is great. And if, it's going to happen in a corrupt way, at least it's less killing, hopefully. But I am reticent to, jump up and down and clap and celebrate, because there's a lot we still don't know. And there's a whole lot of what looks like the same old players profiting in the same old ways, just with a new script this time.
Again, in my opinion, don't be ungrateful. The people of Palestine will live to fight another day. It could have all been over. They did try. Carpet bombing, bioweapons, just indiscriminate firing, using a computer program with drones called Palantir that would actually select. It was an algorithm that would choose which men they would kill. So, and this was a huge experiment. They basically practiced all the stuff that they're eventually probably going to use on us or other populations. They practiced it and they perfected the algorithm in Gaza. If there's any hope of a ceasefire, at least those people get to live another day, which is better than nothing. We should be grateful for it. It's looking more and more like Netanyahu's not going to be able to keep himself out of prison for much longer. I'm not saying by the end of this year, but perhaps third or second or third quarter next year, Netanyahu could be sitting in a prison cell. He's pretty much done with the trial. This war on October 7th literally stopped everything in its tracks, but it's not over. He wasn't exonerated. The case is pending. So soon he's going to have to go back to court. And that's why he wants to keep this going. And I'm sure if he can find a way to weasel something to keep a conflict in there, he will. But if American peacekeepers are there and American troops are on the ground in Gaza, in Palestine, it's going to make it almost impossible for him to do a direct attack again against the Gaza Strip without harming Americans. And then there's going to be zero support for Israel in the United States. It's already waning now. The World Economic Forum and their campaign, Free Palestine, keeping that going all this time, it's worn down the American people, and it's made a lot of people switch sides and say, you know what? Genocide is wrong. Maybe they shouldn't be doing these things. But if you only knew what the World Economic Forum had in store for us, if they could just get the United States under their control, you would beg for Israel to keep their power. You'd beg for Netanyahu to stay in office. I'm always disgusted when you have to pick between the lesser of two evils, because you still got to pick evil. If you have any comments, leave them. I want to talk to you. We're on 8 different platforms: Cash App, $, the single boyfriend. Let's if you want to buy me a coffee, if you want to just sit around and chit chat, I'm open to comments. If you want to correct me on anything, or if you have any more insight, I'm open to talking. We're going to have some guests coming up this week. We were going to do it on Instagram, but they are blocking my pages again. I'm no longer allowed to post. Luckily, I'm here and I'm on Rumble and I'm on X. So I'm not completely muted, but on the immediate social media like TikTok, they've striking the hell out of me. Instagram, I'm done. Facebook, remarkably, they've came light years in their progress, rolling back all the censorship. I remember I couldn't call somebody. I called somebody slow, and they put me on the 30-day ban. So now you can call people whatever you want. So I'm liking Facebook now. That's why I'm on there posting and typing, calling people everything under the book. So you can find me on there as well. The Single Boyfriend, or Right Wing Rico. My new page is going to be Rico Limbaugh, just because I used to be a huge fan of Rush Limbaugh, and I'm going to try to hopefully we have a lot of the same talking points. So Rico Limbaugh is pretty fitting. I think I'm going to go by that. So anyway, like and subscribe, share the video if you can. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. We have some other topics to talk about. I'll be back on live in a few minutes. We're going to go over some of the ICE raids and how it's going to help rent prices go down. And what are these other topics? We have a few other topics. So I'll see you guys again shortly. Like the page on YouTube, The Single Boyfriend, or Right Wing Rico. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you again shortly. Cheers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.